Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited to see you all. And Scott, welcome to today's webinar.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Before we get started, just a couple housekeeping things for everybody on the line. This call will be recorded today and we'll send the recording out by tomorrow within 24 hours to you all. So if you have any coworkers or anybody who missed it, you can send it over to them. And then we will reserve about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. At the very bottom of the screen, there are dots that make up a box. If you click on that, there's a button that says Q&A. You can type any of your questions in there, and we have Shannon on the call who will be our moderator, and she will call out if we have any questions. So please dump them there. We're so lucky to have Scott dedicate his time this morning, wealth of knowledge, so we can hit him with some fun questions at the end if you guys have any. Scott, can you tell us a bit about your business and just like what you guys do, what market you serve, what does that look like?
So we have three stores, Reno, Las Vegas, or Henderson right outside of Vegas, and Scottsdale in Phoenix. Currently expanding into in the Phoenix market, planning on opening another store in 2026.
Nice.
We started in Reno, expanded into Vegas and Scottsdale over the last couple of years. I guess it's been our Scottsdale store is going on 2 years open. It's been 18 months since we've been open. The Vegas store has been a year open. And that's what we've been doing for the last few years. You know, I moved the family down to Phoenix so we can open more. You know, it's been a fun ride.
It's a total commitment. And do you guys do hot tubs, swim spas, and saunas? What else do you sell?
Yeah, so hot tub, swim spas, all accessories surrounding the hot tub and swim spa, from custom stairs, Kovanas, you know, smart top, you know, all the accessories around there. We have saunas as well. You know, we have the full Max line, you know, American Whirlpool Vita, and then the Max saunas as well. But we'll be coming into 2026. We'll be expanding heavily into saunas. That's our big push this year to match the marketing budget for hot tubs with saunas. You know, so we see a big opportunity there.
That's a huge deal. I mean, I think I haven't heard anybody say that they're doing that. So I think that's really smart. Saunas are definitely booming. Everybody's saying that, but nobody's, you know, put your money where your mouth is sort of deal. I'm a big advocate of that. So really smart.
We're a little crazy, you know, like, hey, you know, we'll roll the dice a few times a year. You know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, big risk, big reward. And it doesn't have to be so substantial. It's not like you're doing anything crazy, because what's cool about marketing is you can dial it up and you can also dial it down. So if it doesn't work after a couple of months, it's not like all is lost. You can just lower the spend and move forward. That's great. I want to go backwards really quick. Thanks for giving us some background on your company. Can you tell us a bit about you? I think you have a really fascinating story. I think other people will find it really fascinating. How long have you been in the industry? How did you get in the industry? And what did you do before being owning hot tub stores?
So I've been in the industry for 5 years. You know, funny enough, I've been officially in the industry for 5 years. Back in 2008, 2009, I was a sales guy at a gym. And my friend of mine, he's my business partner, Dan, him and I've been friends for 15 years now, but he was delivering hot tubs as a general contractor, and at the home show there's a tough spa dealer that needed a sales guy, and I actually sold hot tubs for him at the home show in Reno, and that was it. Like one weekend, sold 8 hot tubs on the weekend, and then that was it. You know, like it never happened again. Some, you know, the roto molds, you know, it's fun, you know, but then I didn't touch it again until 5 years ago now, almost to the day, 5 years ago. But I was in the car business for many years before that. I owned 3 car lots in 3 different cities in Nevada. I had 2 mechanic shops, as well as separate things that they weren't. They were separate retail shops outside of the retail stores for sales, and but I grew up in the car business primarily. Okay. And my dad was a vice president of a publicly traded Lithia Automotive there in Oregon. So he's VP there. So I grew up in cars, and I saw when Dan, was like, "Hey, I'm doing this hot tub thing," and we were talking about it and stuff, about partnering and stuff. I saw a pretty big opportunity in the industry. I compared it to 1975 cars. It's very, very similar industry. Where we're at in the industry is hot tubs, and as technology continues to push the market forward, I saw that. So to me, I saw the play that the car industry ran, and I want to run that same play in hot tubs. So,
yeah, you don't want to miss the mark. Yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way. It's like, man, if only we would have jumped in ahead of the curve. I feel like just so often entrepreneurs are at a point where they see what's going on and they don't jump in early enough. But I think you're just it's just now starting to take off. I think a lot of people saw COVID as the takeoff moment, but post-COVID, there's a lot that's happening in the industry. So it sounds like the hot tub industry isn't like your passion. Obviously didn't grow up in the industry, just saw it as really a business venture opportunity, which I think is unique. I don't think there's a lot of people coming into the industry that are seeing that, but that hasn't been the history over the last 20 years. So
yeah,
go ahead.
It seems like, everyone that I meet in the industry, it's like, hey, my father was a pool builder and I got us into hot tubs, or, stuff like that, that they're taking the family business, growing it, doing it that way, or they've been around it, that kind of thing. Whereas I kind of stumbled into it.
Totally. And the industry's not, the hot tub industry particularly, isn't that old. So a lot of people have more succession planning companies have been in the industry since it started. So they kind of started by accident, right? They had a totally different type of business selling, Christmas trees or lights or doing landscaping. And then these portable hot tubs came into the market and they're like, sure, I'll carry them, I guess, and sell them with the other stuff that I'm selling. And it's
this hot box of water, like, I'll throw that in there by my pools, like
exactly. We'll deliver it, I guess, and let's just turn into this whole industry.
Yeah,
pretty unique. That's really cool. You not obviously, but your company runs on Lou software, which is the connection that we have. Can you tell us, it's been a couple of years now that you've been live. I feel like almost a couple of years since we've met.
Yeah, so 5 years with the Reno store. Reno store went with Lou in 2020, like November of 2020. So it's been 5 years for the Reno store. And we, when we started the expansion, was when I started down the path of shopping more so than, okay, hey, can this do, my vision is 50 stores. It's not 5 stores. It's not 4, it's 50, so I needed a product that I wanted to set up an infrastructure, to where like I don't have to think about that when I hit store 10. Oh no, we have the wrong software. We need to do something different.
Yeah.
So it was a couple of years ago that I really, dug into shopping and what Lou could offer on a larger scale.
What were you thinking about? That's kind of when you and I met and when we came into conversation together, thinking about scalability and just like if the infrastructure was the right infrastructure for your business. But what sort of things were you thinking about with that? Were you thinking about retail? Were you thinking about inventory? Were you thinking about service capabilities? Or what sort of questions crossed your mind when you thought about, is this software best for us to scale with?
Well, the number one thing that it had to be is that it had to be a cloud-based software. It couldn't require a physical server at the location,
Okay.
So, and I learned that with cars, I had 3 locations, and the original software that I had required me to have a server computer built and put in the closet, and you couldn't access it from the other stores. So I had to switch software. So it was a thing that was a non-negotiable for me. And obviously Lou is that. Being able to save contracts for customers, within their customer profile, that was a huge thing. Because as you scale, you have to hold on to those contracts for 7 years, so, you're eventually going to have a storage facility just for contracts if you don't have something, digital. So that was a non-negotiable, and Lou obviously checked that, but mostly it was the inventory and then being able to, service with sales, with the retail side, having both, being able to do a delivery, being able to do service, being able to do it from start to finish, the whole process, so that was something that was really important to me. If I'm thinking about scaling a company, having everything in one spot, it needs to be that so everyone can work in one spot. You're not going, oh, well, go over here for service and go over here for this. That was a really key thing, to being able to have all three of those components. Accounting is an important thing down the road, but that's something that you guys are expanding on, so it's no software is going to be perfection at the beginning, so we can all grow together, so it's good.
Yeah, totally. I think you make a really good point. I think what's been most helpful about you with growing with Lou is that you also are really willing to be flexible. Like, you guys obviously have an idea in mind of how you want your business processes to work. But what I've really appreciated about you is that you've also come to the table and said, this is what we're trying to achieve. Am I missing something here? Or is there a better way for me to do this in the software that would make my life easier? Because I feel like I'm running against a wall right now.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. I think it just helps for us all to work closely together.
Yeah, cloud. That's the cool thing. That's the coolest thing about cloud-based software is that it's easy to, on your guys' side, it's significantly easier to update something on cloud rather than, a legacy thing, or, something that requires a server. It's a lot more rigid, so if I have a conversation with you guys and there's enough dealers out there saying the same general things, it'll eventually happen,
It's true.
It's we can be patient about it, so.
Yeah, patience is a virtue, that's for sure. And that's my whole role now. I was leading sales and marketing, and now I'm leading our product and client strategy team. So my whole goal is to say, Scott wants this. There's also 27 other dealers that also want the exact same thing. How do we weave it in? How do we get it done to meet the mark of what they're asking for? So and it's cool to see processes that you've come up with in the software that just make it work. Some of them are creative and not exactly how it was designed. You just make it work for your day-to-day. So it's very cool. Another question for you, just pivoting away from software. Thank you for going down that rabbit hole with me.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to business, there's a lot of people on the line who want to scale their business. They want to do one of three things. They want to scale their business and grow. They are going through succession planning and they're at retirement age where they want to get out of the business. So does that mean passing it down to family? Does that mean venture capital? What does that mean? Or they want to just sell their business to somebody and get out to go do something else. So that's where I see kind of three buckets of people. And you guys are obviously at the point, like you just said, your goal is to scale to 50 locations. That's huge. That is a lofty goal, as you know, just looking at the industry as it stands today. There's not a lot of people out there. Most people have like max 15 locations and they're absolutely killing it, right? Top of the mountain. So that's a goal, big goal to achieve. What advice do you have for people who are, let's go down the route of somebody who's looking to scale their business? Because that's really where you guys are at today. Do you have any advice for people who are like 1 or 2 locations, kind of feel like they're trudging through the mud? Any advice on scaling your business in the year of 2026?
Yeah, I'll give you my, my just basic thing that I've, that I talk about is that, so you have, loosely termed, you have a small business, a medium business, and a large business. Small business wants to grow to become a large business, right? So, well, you have to hit medium first. Well, running a medium business is by far and away the hardest and most frustrating thing that you can ever run. So if you're looking to grow from 1 store to 2 stores, it's, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not easy, but it's easier, right? You hire a couple of salespeople, your service tech and your delivery team can handle any additional growth that second store gives you. So you already have the infrastructure. The infrastructure is the key to any type of growth. Going from 1 store to 2 stores, you're not going to double your volume. So let's say it increases by 70% over the course of a few years. It's your current staff can handle that increase. So you already have the infrastructure. If you want to go to 5 stores or 6 stores or 7 stores, or you want to go into a completely different market, if you don't have the infrastructure set up, whether it's a loose software, whether it's having, okay, I need to have the delivery team that can handle this prior. They need to be trained prior to the growth. If you do the growth and you try to figure it out afterwards, you're going to sacrifice your customer.
Yeah.
Your perception, the customer's perception of you is going to be you're disorganized. You didn't plan it. You didn't communicate well because you're scrambling.
Right.
So that would be the biggest thing for me is what I would give anyone advice is that you have to have the infrastructure first. Now, what that means, unfortunately, for me as an owner, is that you have to get through medium business. Well, what that means is you're working twice as much for half the money.
Yeah.
So it's you hire employees, that becomes more expense. Your sales are going to come after you hire your employees. They don't come first. So the owner is the one that needs to take the hit, in my opinion. And take less pay the proper pay the people, train them up, so then down the road is when you're going to reap the benefits in theory. But in the short term, when you're a medium business, this is my thing, that when you're a medium business, you got to work more than everyone and you got to do it for less money than everyone, in my opinion. Otherwise you're not going to get to big business.
Yeah, it's so true. When you, as a owner, it's kind of the reverse pyramid kind of tactic, right? You're the one holding everybody up, you're elevating everybody, you're paying everybody a fair wage, because you also need to create culture so that you can scale to a large business. It's small businesses can fumble around with really shoddy culture and people not loving their job because there's only a couple of people, right? Like the toxic will just be toxic and it's whatever because everybody can make it through, or you can just replace a couple of people. But when you're a medium-sized business and you want to scale to large with 20, 30, 40 employees, the culture becomes so much more prominent. And it's that I think is one of the hardest puzzles to solve for because it's the most abstract. So when you talk,
it separates everyone.
When you talk about fundamentals and infrastructure, what would you say are the most key important pieces of a solid infrastructure? What does that look like to you?
Number one, most important, is retention of the employees. Okay. A lot of people in business that I've spoken to and stuff, that one of the struggles that I had early on in my business career was not understanding the value of an employee's experience within the company. So having retention is key. If when you're scaling from small to medium to large, if you lose people, it's going to stop your growth in its tracks, so retention is key. So having that culture is really important. Retaining the people, making sure they're happy overall. But outside of that, you have to have processes in place for everything. I believe that they should be written down. You should have SOPs written for absolutely every task. I told you, I forget the plugin, but I was doing recording everything in Lou, going, okay, this is how you do everything. I'm like, wait, there's Lou support. Scribe. I have this.
You were using Scribe, right?
Scribe, that's it.
Scribe,
yeah. Scribe. I was using Scribe, and I'm like, this is how you do it. And I'm like, wait a second. So I didn't. It saved me a lot of time doing that. So I was doing that before we were opening the store in Vegas. Recording all those things, putting everything out in step by step. Hey, for a delivery, this is the first email you send. This is the welcome. This is step by step. So when you do hire someone, I don't have to be the person hands-on sitting right next to them.
Yeah.
I can have another employee say, hey, this is the requirements. This is what Scott wants. This is what he's looking for. And then here is all of your individual instructions to be able to do this. So that helps me manage from afar, from not being in the room. So having 3 different territories, I have to be able to do that.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant. I think Shannon would get such a kick out of what you were doing because you were literally rewriting our knowledge base articles for Olivia.
I didn't even know they were there. That was my fault, but.
I think
You
that's
know,
awesome. But you learn it better when you have to teach somebody. So it actually was probably a blessing in disguise.
yeah, it's good. I only got through like 20 items, and then I learned about that they're all there. So it's good. It was only 20 of them.
That's great. So funny. I have a totally oddball, like a left field question for you. But do you have any like shining star people that you look to as just great business people, like Marcus Lemonis, or anybody who you like watch, read books from? Anybody like that?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I have individual people. So I read one or two books a month, from some business book, from something that, like as you read more and you consume more information, this person talks about this book. Hey, I'll try that one. Hey, Warren Buffett said this thing. Oh, hey, I'll
Yeah.
do that. Or Patrick Bet David was someone that I listened to a lot of his original content on sales, and then he talked about scaling a business, and that's where I learned a lot of, where I read, he has a list of 50 books that he says every entrepreneur should read these 50. So I read those 50,
Yeah.
but the originals are always great. They have the nostalgia and stuff. Think and Grow Rich, Mastering the Art of Selling.
Yes.
That was my beginning, at 18 years old. Like my dad's like, hey, you want to make it in the world, this is what you got to read, so
Yeah.
but I don't have a specific individual outside of, I listen to, the big names would be Patrick Bet David, Warren Buffett, people like that they say things and then you just pay attention, write it down, and then, okay, I'm going to go read that book. So
yeah, a lot of the OGs. That's great. Thank you. That's awesome. I agree. I wish I had more time to physically sit down and read books, but I have little kids, so podcasts are the way that I consume content.
Yeah, I've got little ones.
Yeah, I know. You just want to find time for it.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, I want to pause really quick and check in with Shannon on the line. Shannon, do we have any questions that anybody's typed in?
Yeah, one question. How long did it take you to decide what software to go with?
Well, we already had Lou, so that helped with that, but I would say it was probably a 4 to 6 month process overall. I went through manufacturing companies like Epicor, larger things. RB something is in the pool business. I went through 5 or 6 other companies that had a cloud-based offering. And at the end of the day, I ended up, obviously staying with Lou, with what they offered and where they were going and stuff. But it was about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And what do you think is, or what is your strategy for retaining employees?
That's a good question. Various things, most importantly, we try to have a family-based environment while not being family, is what I always say, so we care. It's a little easy for me I think that because I genuinely care about the people around me, right? So if you genuinely care and understand that if your employee needs to achieve their goal in their personal life before you achieve yours in your business life, they'll leave. So I meet with every single employee in my business for 15 to 30 minutes once a month and ask them what their goals are and if they're the same goal, personal goals and professional goals. So, and I kind of take a mentoring type position with them that says, hey, if your goal is to own a home, these are the ways that you're going to go buy a home. I'll help you do that. Well, your professional life has to help you facilitate your personal goal. So I do that on a monthly basis, 15 to 30 minutes. I don't spend more than that on it. Want to make sure that I have a pulse on each individual employee within the company. So I can understand that, hey, their life changes. Maybe they're a single salesperson. They're like, I'll travel all over the country and sell stuff. And then they meet the perfect girl, and now they want to get married and they want to settle down, and now they're not traveling, so if you don't have a pulse on your employee, you can't help them facilitate their goals. So I think that genuinely caring about the individual outside of just work is a big thing. I learned this from Gary Vaynerchuk. That would be a big thing. That, if you don't think that way, if you don't understand that their personal life is more important to them than your business, that no employee will ever care about your business the same way you do. So you can't expect them to care the same if you don't care about them equal. So that's how I would say do that, and be flexible. If I just had got my office manager had a baby, and we gave her maternity leave. When she came back, she because of childcare and things in life, she wants to be home more. So we pivoted and allowed her to change her schedule, and we were able to do that for her. So you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's what we have right now.
I hope everybody listening really heard that, because I think that is gold advice. Nobody's going to care more about your business than you do, and you can't expect people to. I think we make that mistake as business owners often, where we just think that people coming into the business to collect a paycheck are going to care as much as we do, or they should for some reason. It's not their business. It's not their legacy. And if we don't care about them individually achieving their personal individual goals, how can we expect them to care about us and our goals?
It seems simple, but
it does. But it's not so
tough sometimes. Sometimes as bosses, you can go around and the metaphor is, I call it the boss button, like, hey, do it because I'm your boss, click. Like it's a lot of times it's tough to think that way, but I learned that from Gary Vaynerchuk. That would be a big person that from a culture builder that I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, he's one of the best, that's for sure. That's great advice. Those are all the questions I have for you, Scott, and I think that's a great point to end the conversation on. That just the culture of your business is what's going to help you scale. The infrastructure is really important. You can't scale without infrastructure, but you also can't run a business without people. Have the right people in the right seats. And again, back to your comment, if you care about them personally and you understand what drives them personally, you naturally will put them in the right seats, right? There's probably people on the service side that would be better suited for sales, vice versa, all around the company. And so it just helps you to understand, well, if your goals are buying a house and making a ton of money, you're probably going to do that best in sales. Is there something I can do to help, invest in you there? So it's just, it makes your job a lot easier when you understand what makes them tick to put them in the right seats.
Yeah. Everyone's different. They're not, we're humans, we're all different, so, the old school books say that you put a process in place and then you manage the process. You don't manage the person, which is true. You manage your people through a process. So you have to be a little black and white and rigid from that standpoint. Hey, these are the steps in which we go through this, and these are the reasons why. But outside of that, every person is different. What drives them is different. Some people want to raise. Some people, want. I've instead of a Christmas bonus in cash, I've bought in spa days for, hey, go spend 10 hours at the spa, like it's everyone's different, and if you don't have conversations with your individual employees, you're never going to know the answers to that. So that would be the biggest thing for me from a culture standpoint.
Yeah. Great advice. I really appreciate that. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time. Any parting words, anything you'd like to leave the group?
I don't have any specific words, but hey, I'm trying to grow. So if there's someone out there that is trying to take a step back, and anyone can reach out. That's our goal overall, is more acquisition than it is, continuing to open a bunch of new stores, so. Yeah,
that's great. Scott, do you have an email you want to provide people?
Yeah. So it's my first name, Scott, SCOTT, at hottubss.com, like hottubsuperstore.com.
HotTubSuperstore.com. That's great. Yeah. And now that Scott will take really good care of your people. I know that's a concern for a lot of people stepping out. They're like, what's going to happen to my team? They'll be taken great care of. So reach out to Scott if you'd like some help or would like to start moving out of the world. Thanks again, Scott. We'll chat soon, and good luck in 2026.
Awesome. You too. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.